This Vietnamese woman was locked in an Iron Maiden, and sunk into the sea for as long as 500 years. After being fished out of the sea, she could actually be alive. In fact, there exists a group of immortals in this world. Even if they are shot to pieces by machine guns, they can resurrect within tens of seconds. The bodies of immortals can expel bullets, and heal wounds at a non-human speed. They have formed a superpowered army, to protect human safety for thousands of years. Split, Croatia, members of the Immortal Legion are monitoring a house. It is estimated that there are at least 16 guards on the scene. 4 cars are on standby. Nell, who comes from the Marine Corps, sees Conrad operating weapons. This guy is extremely difficult to deal with. He has deployed a large number of scanners and jamming devices around. Once someone steps into it, they will disconnect from the outside world. Andy quickly formulates a plan, and asks Arjo and Nikki to deal with the hedge maze. Then she takes Copley to sneak attack a man, who comes out to relieve himself. Andy takes the weapon from the man, then she instructs Arjo and Nikki to make bigger moves, attract as many guards as possible. Upon hearing this, Arjo and Nikki rush to the parking area while firing their guns. They draw the attention of most of the guards. Andy and the others take this opportunity to enter the building. Nell, through binoculars, sees some people loading weapons. It is estimated that they were frightened by the commotion, and are preparing to move. Andy and Copley continue to go deeper into the building, and take down several guards. Copley, seeing Andy acting too boldly, can't help but remind her, "You are not immortal now. It's better to be careful." However, Andy is used to taking the lead. This habit can't be changed in a short time. Nell, seeing that the time is right, also drives a speedboat to rush in and help. She casually takes down a few soldiers, climbs up the stone wall to the second floor, and then kills the sniper there. A man in red suddenly appears indoors and injures Nell. Fortunately, as an immortal, her wound heals rapidly. Nell grabs the flag on the balcony and jumps. She kicks open the window and enters the floor below. Nell quickly joins Andy and Copley. The two have almost cleared the interior. The guards are basically all killed. As for Arjo and Nikki, they are driving a sports car to tease the pursuers. They soon drive onto a narrow mountain road. Nikki leans out of the car window trying to climb into Arjo's car. Unexpectedly, the enemy suddenly crashes over recklessly. As a result, Nikki's lower body is still hanging outside the car. His ankle soon fractures due to friction with the ground. Fortunately, immortals have strong vitality. After Nikki's bones recover, he kicks away the motorcycle behind, and gets into the co-pilot's seat. However, before the two can catch their breath, they find a car coming head-on. It's too late to dodge now. Arjo's car is smashed, crosses the guardrail and crashes into the water. If they didn't have the ability of immortality, they would die on the spot in the car accident. On Andy's side, after the three entered the building, they realized that there were far more than 16 guards. They flanked from both sides of the stairs, and shot the man in red to pieces. Copley confirmed that there were no survivors in the building, so he contacted his informant in the CIA. They would arrive at the scene in about 7 minutes, to seize the weapons hidden by the building's owner. In the evening, the five gathered to drink and chat, although the atmosphere was very lively. But Nell always felt that Andy wasn't happy. Losing her immortality was one reason, but what hurt Andy the most was the betrayal of her former partner, Booker. Just then, Copley received a call. His informant had confirmed that Conrad wasn't the final buyer. He was just a middleman, just like the groups of people last month. Who exactly is the buyer behind this? What do they want to do with so many weapons? Copley said that the big shot behind the scenes was very mysterious, and had left almost no clues. There was only one photo taken by surveillance. Nell looked at the woman in the picture. She actually had a sense of familiarity. It seemed that she had seen the other person in a dream. At that time, the woman was in an ancient room. There were many books in the room. There should have been a man in the hall, but the dream was blurry, and Nell couldn't see his face clearly. However, those books should have belonged to the man, because the next second, the woman stabbed him, and snatched the books from the shelf. Then Nell woke up from the dream. She couldn't figure out what the dream meant, and the blurry surveillance footage wasn't enough for facial recognition. Copley would continue the investigation. He would inform Andy as soon as there was any progress. In Paris, France, Booker took out his key, and was about to open the door, when he found that the lock had been pried open. Standing in the room was an Asian woman in a red coat. This person was the immortal Arjun. She once traveled around with Andy. Due to a failed mission, she was locked in an iron coffin, and sunk to the bottom of the sea. Not long ago, the mysterious woman who purchased weapons everywhere rescued her from the depths of the sea. Only then did Arjun regain her freedom.
So, how do I find Andromache?
Andromache is Andy's real name. Because Booker was unwilling to tell the truth, Arjun asked her subordinates to tie him up and take him away. Booker said, "It's no use tying me up. I've been exiled by the team. If you want to find Andy, you shouldn't come to ask me."
She's spoken of me.
She never stopped.
Arjun was able to survive at the bottom of the sea. Her only belief was to escape and save Andy, only to find out that Andy had been free 500 years ago, only she had been suffering like a fool. Regarding this, Booker could only tell Arjun, "Andy is also living a hellish life. There must be a reason why she didn't come to save you." Unfortunately, these words couldn't convince Arjun. At the same time, the 5-person team got their respective rest time. Andy planned to continue the investigation with Copley. However, Arjo suddenly told Nikki that he wanted to be alone for a while. Nikki has been inseparable from this guy for thousands of years. He knew immediately that Arjo was lying. Arjo must be hiding something from him, so Nikki asked Nell to join him in following Arjo. They found that Arjo had come to Paris to deliver daily necessities to the exiled Booker. Nikki couldn't figure out what Arjo was thinking. After all, Booker shot Andy and betrayed all of us. Nell interrupted their argument, saying that Booker wasn't in the house now. The walls and floor were covered with bloodstains. Arjo last contacted Booker about a week ago. He hadn't heard that Booker was in trouble. Nell thought they should inform Andy immediately, but Andy kept not answering the phone. Now they could only return to the headquarters to meet up with them. At this time, Andy took Copley to Seoul, South Korea, to meet a mysterious person, but she wasn't sure whether to take Copley along, so Andy asked Copley to wait where he was, while she went ahead to sound things out first. The person Andy was going to meet was the one in Nell's dream. When she heard that dream back then, she guessed that the man was her friend Tuya.
You're still wearing Quinn's necklace.
Andy explained Nell's dream and wanted to ask Tuya if he knew the identity of the mysterious woman. Upon hearing this, the latter invited her to the library for a detailed talk. Copley was also invited. He couldn't help but ask Tuya's age. The latter replied, "I'm about 2,300 years old." Tuya's library houses countless books about immortals. These words record their traces in history. That mysterious woman did come and take some of the books. Tuya only knows that she is also an immortal. Over the long years, the mysterious woman has used countless names. Now her name is Chaos. Chaos is the first immortal Tuya has ever seen. She is older than any of us, and could very well be the world's first immortal, because Tuya can't find any records older than Chaos. 500 years ago, Arjun and Andy were captured. When Tuya stepped in to save Andy, Chaos was actually at the scene too. The two realized from the tragic situation of Arjun's capture that humans couldn't tolerate aliens, so they chose to retire. From then on, Tuya kept company with books and research, and during the 500 years of Chaos retirement, she has been secretly accumulating wealth and power, only to resist all potential enemies. Presumably, this is the reason why Chaos is doing arms deals with Conrad. The books taken by Chaos detail information about immortals. Now she has mastered the past of Andy and others, as well as the connections between them. After Andy was silent, she told Tuya, "I lost my immortality 6 months ago. A crisis is coming, and Tuya can't stay out of it either." So he packed his bags and followed Andy and the other to Rimini, Italy. Nell was about to report about Booker. She saw a new face. Andy explained that Tuya was an old acquaintance of hers. "He is an immortal just like us. Let's put this issue aside for now." Nell quickly told Andy that Arjo had been in contact with Booker recently. "We went to his residence in Paris and found that he was gone, with bloodstains everywhere in the house." Copley thought it was most likely done by people sent by Chaos. Just when the few people were at a loss, Arjo suddenly received a call from Booker. He immediately took Nikki to meet the other party. Booker didn't say much, only that he wanted to see Andy. The atmosphere was a bit awkward when the two met again. Booker told Andy that Arjun was out. "She couldn't find you, so she wanted to start with me." Then Booker handed Andy a scroll. Andy unfolded it and checked the content. Arjun is still using the ancient characters from 500 years ago. She wrote on it that although she escaped from the seabed, she found that the world was far darker and more desolate than the sea that imprisoned her. Not to mention that Andy left her behind. Andy regained her freedom as early as centuries ago. She needs Andy to explain it to her in person. "I'll wait for you at the old place." Although Andy knows that this is likely a trap, but it's about Arjun, so she has to go. Nell quickly chased after her. Now that Andy's ability is gone, there's no chance to start over. Moreover, as the captain, she must not be impulsive.
"If our places were swapped, would you let me go alone?"
Andy had to agree to let Nell go with her. On the way, she couldn't help but think of memories from 500 years ago. Andy and Arjun used to be the closest people in the world. It can be said that without Arjun, there would be nowhere today. But now, 500 years have stretched between them. They have long since become unrecognizable. Andy couldn't help but feel a sense of fear.
What if I don't recognize her? Andy, I've never seen you like this.
Soon after, the two arrived in Rome, Italy, the place where the story began. Arjun was standing not far away, waiting. It seemed that Andy saw their former selves through the long years. Up to now, all she could say was sorry. But Arjun's heart was filled with resentment. She was trapped at the bottom of the sea with insufficient oxygen, constantly suffocating, dying, and being reborn, suffering repeatedly for 500 years. When she woke up, she learned that she had been abandoned by her friend.
I searched. I searched for centuries.
But you stopped.
Andy hopes that Arjun can join the organization. Unexpectedly, the other party refused immediately. Arjun no longer wants to fight for the humans who imprisoned her, nor is she willing to waste time solving those endless troubles. After she finished speaking, she got up and left. Andy quickly chased after her and signaled Nell not to follow. Nell had to stay where she was and look around. She soon spotted a woman who seemed to be chaos, and quickly chased after her. On the other side, Arjun led Andy into an alley. She took the first shot. Andy didn't want to fight with her friend, but Arjun simply wouldn't listen. Andy had to parry each move, trying her best not to hurt the other party. In contrast, Arjun had no such scruples and almost struck to kill with every move. She even drew a dagger to slash. At this moment, Nell hurried over and told Andy to stop fighting. Chaos has appeared. Andy was about to chase after her, but Arjun suddenly asked, "Is that girl just now Nell?" She, a person who has been imprisoned for 500 years, why would she know Nell's name? Andy immediately realized that Arjun had allied with Chaos. No wonder she was able to escape from the sea. As soon as the words were spoken, the two started fighting again. This time, Andy didn't hold back, easily subdued Arjun and persuaded her to stop. Unexpectedly, the latter tore off the necklace she had given to Andy before, cursed her to have bad luck in the future. After Arjun finished speaking, she fled in the opposite direction of Chaos. Andy hesitated for a moment, then decided to chase after Arjun first. Arjun disappeared into the crowd in the blink of an eye. On the other side, Nell followed Chaos into a church. Chaos looked at the crucifix above and said, "I was there too." The air was filled with the stench of hatred. Chaos questioned Nell, "A devout Christian like you, how could you follow Andy around playing God?" Nell explained, "We are not playing God. We are just using immortality to help everyone. Haven't you seen Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility." Chaos retorted disdainfully, "In your opinion, is it also the right thing to abandon your family and make them think you have died on the battlefield? If you continue to follow Andy, things will only get worse and worse. She is too obsessed with interfering in human affairs, which is why immortals are being hunted down." At this point, Chaos changed the subject. She pointed out that Nell is the last immortal. There will be no new ones born, so Nell possesses a power that no one else has. Chaos showed the birthmark on her hand, and explained that she is connected to Nell. She is the first immortal, and Nell is the last one.
You and I are going to end immortal interference together.
After Nell returned to the base, she kept thinking about this issue. She told her teammates what Chaos had said to her. Tuya knew that Nell had an unknown secret, so he went back to flip through books. Booker, feeling uneasy, also followed to check. Tuya suddenly asked if Nell had ever heard Andy. Booker remembered that the two had a fight when they first met. Nell did stab Andy at that time. Tuya guessed that Andy's loss of immortality was probably related to Nell, because a legend was recorded in the materials. If an immortal is harmed by the last immortal, they will lose their immortality. Tuya suspected that Chaos would use Nell to kill all immortals. The legend also mentioned that an injured immortal can pass on this ability to others before the immortality fades away, but it only works if it is voluntary. That is to say, if one of Tuya and the others is willing to give up immortality, Andy might regain her ability. However, these are just legends. After hearing this, Booker went to talk to Andy, explaining that he would leave after everything was over, and not stay to be a nuisance. Andy had actually long forgiven Booker's betrayal. She also said that she shouldn't have kicked Booker out. After all, it's a time when manpower is needed. Everyone deserves a second chance. Booker said that she should also give Arjun a chance. She is now bewitched by Chaos because she was hurt too deeply. Arjun will come back to us. The next day, Booker saw Nell training, so he took the initiative to pick up a weapon, and wanted to have a few moves with her to practice. Tuya saw this and immediately understood Booker's idea, so he also drew a knife and wanted to spar with Nell. Both of them wanted to see if they would lose their ability if cut by her. If it really works, they can just transfer the ability to Andy. In the end, Booker was scratched by Nell. He covered his wound and conceded defeat. Then he walked aside with Tuya and told him that the legend was true. Because his wound didn't heal, he must transfer it to Andy before his ability completely disappears. But Andy must never know about this. On the other side, Chaos was talking to Arjun. Both of them hated humans and were hatching an evil plan. Jakarta was extremely peaceful in the late night. The soldiers guarding the Serpong nuclear facility were patrolling. Suddenly, a military vehicle crashed over recklessly. The soldiers immediately fired wildly at the front of the vehicle. The vehicle hit the guardrail and overturned. The driver inside fell to the ground and died instantly. The soldiers were busy checking if there were any bombs in the vehicle, but they didn't notice that Arjun on the ground had already resurrected. She got up, held the officer hostage, and warned everyone to put down their weapons. Immediately after, Chaos mercenaries arrived at the scene. Following Arjun, they killed all the soldiers at the door, broke into the building, massacred wildly, and rushed straight to the nuclear facility inside. Copley quickly detected Arjun's movement. He just saw Booker come in, and told him to hurry up and call everyone to gather. Booker went to the second floor to clean his wound, and observed Andy, looking for an opportunity.
You okay?
Yeah, it's just been a while, it's not for me.
Meet you downstairs.
According to the information Copley found out, this nuclear facility is a black site, secretly set up by the Chinese on Indonesian territory. Copley's informant managed to get a piece of surveillance footage. Before the external communication was cut off, the entire main control room, even the cooling chamber, may have been taken over by Chaos Secret Arm Team. The huge building in the picture is the reactor core. It seems that they have installed some kind of device here. It is estimated that they want to cause an explosion, to destroy the entire facility, and plunge the entire area into nuclear pollution. At that time, it is feared that 10 million people will be affected. What they installed is a shaped charge. Once detonated, even immortals will suffer heavy damage. It will make them lose their ability to move for a long time. In short, Chaos occupies this place. Apart from retaliating against humans, it is to lure the immortals out. Unfortunately, Andy and the others have no choice. Even if they know it's a trap, they have to jump in, to prevent the lunatic Chaos from really detonating the bomb. Before the operation, everyone was scared, although they are immortals, but everyone knows it well. Everything has an end. Maybe this operation is the end. In the evening, the Immortal team rode motorcycles to the front of the building. Copley directed them to avoid the reactor core as much as possible. Otherwise, there's no need to wait for Chaos to activate the bomb. The firepower will also detonate the reactor. At this moment, there is not a single person in the hall. It exudes an ominous silence. Nell soon found shaped charges on the wall. The entire area is full of explosion points. As soon as the words fell, Chaos men appeared. They put away their guns, indicating that they would solve the problem with hand-to-hand combat. After all, this place is full of bombs, and shooting can cause an explosion. The Immortals jumped downstairs holding ropes. A big battle is imminent. Andy took out her weapon and charged at the enemies. The others are also fighting hard. Nikki had just dealt with a soldier when he accidentally triggered a bomb. He was instantly blown downstairs. Arjo saw someone trying to sneak attack, and threw a flying knife at the opponent's vital point. Copley reminded everyone not to be obsessed with battle, went to the control room and opened the door quickly. As soon as Tuya and the other two entered the corridor, they triggered the hidden bomb under their feet. Fortunately, they have strong vitality and are not afraid of explosions. The three arrived at the central control room without any danger along the way. Andy, Nell, and Booker are still cleaning up the remaining enemies on the spot. It was clearly agreed that it would be hand-to-hand combat before the two sides started fighting, but there are always people who don't follow the rules.
I found the asshole.
Andy had just climbed onto the shelf when she was hit by a stun gun. She has now lost her abilities, and her combat effectiveness has decreased. Nell, worried about Andy, ran and jumped to grab the pipe on the opposite side to help. Andy took advantage of the chaos to seize the stun gun, and killed the two pursuers beside her, but Nell below had disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the door of the main control room suddenly closed, trapping Tuya and the other two inside. Copley could hardly break through the system firewall. He told them to check if there was a manual override. However, after searching the entire main control room, the three found no manual override. At this moment, Copley noticed someone approaching the vehicle. He picked up his pistol and went down to check carefully. Unexpectedly, he was attacked from behind right after shooting down the soldier in front. After Tuya realized that Copley had lost contact, he realized that Chaos had deliberately scattered them to defeat them one by one. At present, several Soldiers dragged large tanks of liquid nitrogen above the main control room. The next second, a large amount of liquid nitrogen poured into the room. Tuya and the other two were frozen into ice blocks and fell to the ground. The soldiers outside the door quickly sealed them into plastic bags and vacuumed them. At the same time, Andy, distracted by Nell's disappearance, was pinned down by two Special Forces soldiers. At the critical moment, Booker arrived in time and hacked the two to death. However, a bomb was accidentally triggered in the process. The front road was blocked, so they had to take a detour from the rear, but there were several security doors in the corridor. Chaos was controlling the door locks from behind, trying to separate the two. Booker paid attention to Andy's wound. He found that her healing speed had returned to the level of immortality. It seemed that the voluntary transfer really worked.
When this door opens, you have to go first.
No, you go first.
They're gonna slaughter me if I go out there.
You always go first.
I'm not joking.
Me neither.
Booker confessed the matter of transferring immortality. Andy didn't have time to ask more questions, and could only rush out to fight the enemy. Watching her gunshot wound heal rapidly, she realized Booker wasn't lying. At this moment, a new batch of enemies arrived. Booker realized his end was coming, so he mustered up the courage to rush behind the door. Andy was blocked outside the door. She watched helplessly as Booker died together with those people, but there was no way to rush in to help. They had fought side by side for thousands of years, and had long been like family. Now Booker died a tragic death. Andy angrily smashed the security door. However, the bulletproof door panel didn't move. On the other side, Nell crawled out of the ruins. It wasn't long before she came face to face with Arjun. Neither of them wanted to join the other's camp. Things having come to this, there was nothing left but to fight. Nell, with agile skills, quickly stabbed Arjun. The latter was shocked to find her wound wasn't healing. This situation scared both of them, and Chaos took the opportunity to rush out and sneak attack Nell. Then she sent someone to tie Nell up and take her away. By the time Andy finally escaped through the safety passage, she saw Arjun sitting next to the bomb, holding the detonation button in her hand. She had already realized she was being used by Chaos. Andy knew Arjun wouldn't commit suicide. The other person wasn't so cowardly. At this moment, a loud noise came from above. Andy had to leave Arjun behind first to save Nell. Chaos was about to escape in a helicopter. Andy quickly ran over and grabbed the fuselage. She struggled to climb on top of the plane. During their entanglement, the plane lost its balance. The enemy took out a pistol and shot Andy. She crashed to the ground, and took a few seconds to regain consciousness. But Andy didn't give up hope. She ran quickly towards the oncoming helicopter. With a sliding tackle, she grabbed the undercarriage and climbed outside the cockpit. Andy held Chaos and jumped to the ground together. Chaos arranged for the helicopter to circle around first. She would make further arrangements after dealing with Andy first. The two fought fiercely on the top floor. After several rounds, Andy cut Chaos' finger, and found that her wound didn't heal immediately. That means Chaos had long lost her immortality. It turns out that ending the intervention of Immortals was all an excuse. Chaos just wanted to regain the ability of immortality through Nell, because Nell can take away the immortality of Tuya and others, and then transfer it to Chaos. At this moment, she wielded a knife, stabbed through Nell's chest, climbed onto the helicopter and left here. Because all her partners were in Chaos' hands, so Andy didn't dare to act rashly. She could only take Arjun back to Tuya's library to find a way to fight against Chaos. The two will join hands again to turn the tide. The movie ends here. After many years, the Old Guard has released its second installment. Several actors have maintained themselves very well, and there are almost no signs of aging. However, the action scenes are insufficient, and the dialogue scenes are lacking. The whole film seems to be specially arranged to reunite Andy and Arjun. The duel between the two goddesses, Charlize Theron and Uma Thurman, at the end was actually filmed so briefly, and it was pitch black throughout. Judging from the ending, there should be a third installment. It is hoped that the quality of the sequel can be improved a bit.